I did not think it possible to exceed Dali's heat until I arrived on Fondom. Given that the fire element influences Fright Flame Altar, I should have known better. My throat burned with every spoken word. Even here, the fire element is fraying. The dissonance was present on this island too, its true identity still elusive as ever.
When I was trapped in Vulcan Bola's crystal, I could almost make out its intentions. It wasn't always the primal beast of dread. It was originally supposed to bring hope to people.
Lyria had been shown an ancient memory, one in which Vulcan Bola originally presided over Dali and took shape based on the thoughts harbored by its residents. It acted as a vessel for people's emotions. Put differently, Vulcan Bola was a primal that materialized from the collective unconsciousness of its worshippers.
It was supposed to gather everyone's hope. But
She couldn't bring herself to finish her thought. But her frown and downcast eyes said all that needed to be said. When those former dwellers of Dali were confronted with the unknown, they had reacted not with hope, but with dread. Fear is a natural part of life. It allows a creature to avoid danger and survive to the next day. Mortals are generally rational beings, but it can be hard not to succumb to raw instinct. Whatever objective the Astrals aspired to achieve, it was incompatible with the wishes of Skydwellers. On account of the endless dread harbored within its body, Vulcan Bola gradually transformed into the earth-scorching being it is today.
the Astrals saw that things weren't going well. After Vulcan Bola damaged part of the island, they closed it off. Now it's called Fondom.
Without the guardianship of a primal beast, Dali's lands began to wither, while the volcanic domain of Fondom languished in neglect. As long as Vulcan Bola maintained its power of dread, this exiled land would never see change. No one could be expected to live a life of constant fear. We would be hard-pressed to find any person sane enough to dwell in what I can only describe as a blistering death trap.
So you got a plan for fixing up the fire element, right? Because I do not want to fall out of the sky.
Yes, if the current situation were left to fester, then the sky would be well on its way to collapse. Though who would put their faith in dread? We were at an impasse.
Oh, there you are. Goodness, you folks sure don't miss your cardio. I'm glad I found you.
Fix it, dude! What are you doing here?
As Roland jogged over to us, robes flapping, I realized he had two unfamiliar faces in tow.
Zothpa told me I'd find you here. I'm happy to announce that we're all set in Folka.
Roland told us the whole story, and we want to do our part to save these skies.
You've done so much for us, and we've repaid so little of your kindness. As representatives of Seed Hollow, we're here to offer our full assistance.
Roland had held a forum with the peoples of Folka and Seed Hollow. After much deliberation, they decided to establish an observatory on Fondom.
By exposing people to the real Vulcan Bola, I think its dreadful reputation, forgive the pun, will gradually change for the better.
In addition to monitoring the primal, the observatory would become the destination for regular pilgrimages. The prayers offered would, hopefully, rehabilitate Vulcan Bola's image over time.
We were humbled by your efforts to protect our homes, so we knew we had to step it up too.
Our resources are your resources. Whatever happens, rest assured our forces will defend the citizens with their lives.
It was evident that the resolve of these Sky Dwellers was strong, thanks in no small part to the captain's inspiration. These mortals didn't need my meddling. The future of Zeka Grande was in good hands.
Unfortunately, I have another bit of news to share. In fact, I was hoping I could count on your help for just a bit longer.
Roland's smile vanished, and a steely gaze took its place.
A scouting team from Seed Hollow filed several reports about a strange phenomenon they experienced while investigating the Pillar of Vayoi. They claimed to have heard a voice, but not just any voice.
My body suddenly went numb with apprehension. It was as if I had returned to the research lab, reliving the moment when I heard Lucilius call me a spare.
It was Lilith's.
No one moved. No one dared to breathe. If I hadn't known better, I would have sworn time itself had stopped.
That's impossible. She can't be alive. Not after what we...
The astral named Lilith should be long at the bottom of the skies, or so I was told. How could she have survived? We fly, now. The Grand Cipher lifted off with a complement of stupefied passengers. As we pulled away from Fondum's blood-red skies, the clouds seemed to part into a sneering grin. We raced to the top of the tower as fast as our legs could carry us, though none of us heard even a whisper of Lilith's voice. It was entirely possible, perhaps even preferable, that the scouting team had merely imagined the voice. Our vigilant eyes spotted nothing out of the ordinary, at least not in the physical sense, but something was there. I could feel it. It finally dawned on me. The trickles of dissonance I had felt on each of the 4 islands we visited were congregating at this location.
Did you sense something, Sandalphon?
As a matter of fact, I noticed a faint disturbance on the other islands, as if something somewhere was siphoning off energy.
That doesn't sound good.
According to Roland and the captain, the phenomenon I described was strikingly similar to the way Lilith raised Vayoi. Vayoi was an amalgamation of debris and primal crystals absorbed from across Sega Grande. Why was history repeating itself?
Now that you mention it, I think I sense Angra Mainyu. Its projected body disappeared when Lilith fused with it, but maybe its real one is still out there.
You mean to suggest we defeated a mere spare of Angra Mainyu?
A mere spare. Even if it wasn't the Primal's true form, I could not believe Lilith would risk such a fusion. Taking in a primal core was no simple matter, and in the worst cases, it meant a permanent transfiguration, astral or not. However, Lilith had reverted to her original form after the battle, lending further credence to the fact that the crew had only fought a duplicate.
Let's assume that Angra Mainyu's real body survived without a scratch. It won't take action without commands. Someone must be pulling its strings, ordering it to absorb primal crystals. But there's only one person who would want that.
Right on cue, a spine-chilling voice cut through the very air itself.
Place the crystals upon Vayoi's altar. Open the gate beyond the stars.
That was Mother.
And yet, the Dark Prophetess was nowhere to be found. With her disembodied voice still ringing in our ears, we drew our weapons, ready to battle with an enemy we couldn't see.
Angra Mainyu, O door to worlds beyond, claim this offering.
Her voice is coming from another dimension. So she is alive!
A rematch with an astral thought dead was the farthest thing from anyone's mind.
Id, I know this must be painful for you, but we must cross into the alternate dimension and destroy Lilith and Angra Mainyu once and for all.
I know. Don't worry about me.
You make it sound like opening a dimensional gate is as easy as turning a doorknob.
My good dragon, don't you remember this little beauty?
Roland proudly held up a transceiver. He boasted that it was capable of tracing where the energy signature was at its strongest. And Angra Mainyu would be lurking at the convergence point of the streams of dissonance. As soon as Roland flipped a switch on the transceiver, the sword of Eos in the captain's hand began to emit a radiant glow.
After you, Captain!
Roger that!
The captain followed the signal, and with a weighty swing of their sword, a crack appeared in the air above the ground. The cut, however, was still too shallow. Allow me. I focused the power of the Primarchs into the crack etched by the captain. With a shrill crash, the gate to another dimension shattered open.
Fell the interlopers, guide them to oblivion.
Lilith's voice rang crystal clear from within the rift. She was waiting on the other side of the threshold.
Follow me!
Roland took charge and leapt into the gaping fissure. We were right behind him. Come hell or high water, we were putting an end to this astral's incessant machinations.
I hear Lilith, but she's nowhere to be found.
We can leave her be for now. Focus on the colossal primal in front of us! I have you! Enough!
Withdraw. Regain your composure.
This is it! Now finish it!
Be gone! Stop hiding! Rest in peace.
Farewell, Lilith. It's finally over.
Sublime work, everyone. Once we had pacified Angra Mainyu, Roland began the rites to seal it away.
You're free now, Angra Mainyu. You won't be used for evil anymore. You can finally sleep peacefully.
It wasn't quite a eulogy, but hopefully it was enough of a goodbye. As the rift drew to a close, Angra Mainyu pulsed with light, a final sigh of relief as it was released from its torment.
As I'm sure you've all surmised, Lilith was never here to begin with. We were listening to an echo that she left behind using magic.
Then she's really gone. That's some comfort, at least.
I'm sorry, Id.
Sleep well, Angra Mainyu. May you never be exploited for nefarious acts ever again.
Well, I'm glad we put that matter to rest. Now that Vayoy has lost its power source, I dare say it'll crumble and fall to the bottom of the skies.
It would not be in the Sky Realm's best interest to allow this massive structure to crash into the Crimson Horizon. I envisioned what would happen if Pandemonium or Etemenanki crashed into the Crimson Horizon, all scenarios resulted in cataclysmic repercussions.
Not to worry. Just as Voyoi was assembled from assorted items across Sega Grande, so too should it dissolve into myriad vestiges before making a descent. Though I do feel sorry for the otherworlders residing in the Crimson Horizon. They won't be too thrilled when our trash rains down on them.
That would require an apology. Perhaps I should bring confections when the opportunity availed itself. That is, assuming the denizens of the otherworld were willing to sit down over a cup of coffee. As opposed to tearing me to shreds, of course.
Need something?
In the wake of our element-stabilizing endeavors, I flew high into Zega Grande's atmosphere to better evaluate the elemental health of the Skydom. Recovery was slow, but it was progressing in the right direction. If Skydwellers and primal beasts could return to living in harmony with one another, the elements should no doubt re-establish equilibrium. I visited the islands again to see how the people were faring. Blessed by the warm sun, smiles were abloom in the townships of the Einstedo archipelago. Meanwhile, the monks of Melos were still busy mopping up the flood that swept through the ravines of Lotania. A contingent of workers led by the family Zothba had unearthed a fair section of Dali's ruins. Several small encampments had already sprung up to capitalize on potential profits. Flights to Fondom from Folka and Seed Hollow had begun service. Construction on the observatory was coming along nicely as well. Come laughter, tears, or pain, Skydwellers persevere. They learn to grow and evolve. They possess unlimited potential to overcome any manner of hardship that stands in their way. I witnessed that firsthand from my travels with the captain and crew. As the Supreme Primarch, it was my duty to watch over the people from high above. But maybe I was destined for another purpose. Skydwellers are strong. A time will come when they no longer need the aid of archangels, or any other such being. And as we fade in importance, we will be forgotten. Did he continue to advance Skydweller evolution, knowing full well it may lead to the end of his purpose? The ability to forget is a double-edged sword. The fear of being forgotten by someone important to you is unimaginably terrifying. When the primals of Zega Grande no longer had a role to play, they began to disappear from everyone's lives. What if these primals had influenced the elements in a bid to affirm their own existence? A final, desperate cry to the world, announcing they were still here. Before me, the sky stretched out under a blinding sun, blue as far as the eye could see. The world's cruelty wrenched my heart. Lucifer once wondered what makes the sky blue. I guess I have a question of my own for the skies. Would mortals and primals ever stop fighting? Could we ever live in harmony? Oh, am I a bit early? The portrait we posed for on the docks of Folka was complete, so I had plans to meet the others at the church to collect it. However, its humble halls were empty. It would seem my fellow crewmates were comfortable with being fashionably late. Don't get the wrong idea. I have absolutely no interest in vanity. I was, however, curious which colors the artist had selected to paint the sky. Once I'd confirmed this detail, I would be on my way. But it was quiet in the church, somber, you could say. Coffee would go well with this atmosphere. What I wouldn't give for just one cup, though I wasn't sure we could afford the detour for such a simple luxury. They're late. I'd grown used to waiting on mortals. There was nothing to do except figure out the best way to pass the time. I could reanalyze our previous battle with Angra Mainyu, or I could also...
Sleepyhead,
Was someone calling me?
rise and shine, Sleepyhead.
I was still groggy coming out of my accidental nap, but my ears were in working order. A cacophony of voices made sure of that.
Heard you're a coffee fiend, so I brought you my famous Zothba blend. Stuff will knock your socks off.
You failed to mention it was brewed with natural water melted from the purest snow of Lotania. I dare you to find a fresher source.
Sandalphon, my boy, how do you feel about sponge cake?
Try some of Seed Hollow's finest flower wine. Go on, take a swig straight from the bottle.
All right. Let the poor guy get his bearings, everyone. He did just wake up.
Somebody's popular.
What had I done to deserve this? Think, Sandalphon. First you came to the church to receive a painting, and then...
You had no idea so many people wanted to come thank you, right? No wonder you're surprised.
I did not think I had done anything to warrant such an outpouring of gratitude. The children of man fuss over everything.
Look at it this way. If it weren't for you, we never would have noticed all the weirdness in the skies. You rock, dude!
As I fumbled for an excuse to escape the throng of well-wishers, Sierra Carte entered the church.
My goodness. We have ourselves quite the turnout here.
Turnout? When was this? A party?
And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Voila!
The merchant presented me with a board wrapped in cloth. I gingerly removed it, only to be met with the shock of a lifetime. Lucifer? No. I felt as if my eyes were betraying me.
Huh. That wasn't exactly the reaction I was expecting.
Lyria and Vern peered over my shoulder.
Wow, you look so handsome, Sandalphon!
My identity as the Supreme Primarch had never been revealed to the artist, yet her intuitive eye still captured my hidden essence.
If you want, I could arrange for a replacement. No questions asked. Customer satisfaction is my #1 priority.
No, that won't be necessary. I'll take it. The pure arrogance of mistaking myself for Lucifer. I must have been drowsier than I let on. Yet somehow, it felt right. Regardless, I still had one outstanding issue with the portrait. Where would I hang it up?
Well then, so long.